Welcome to Sounds Like Portraits. I'm Philippe Ungar. This podcast is all about people and creativity. In this episode, you'll hear Chef Nasim Alikhani talking about her daily ritual to prepare herself before cooking in Sofreh, her Brooklyn restaurant, and what inspired her all her life.
All my life, I try to stay connected and be authentic as I can be. It's kind of a vague statement, but even as a child, my mother was always kind of embarrassed by my spontaneous answers, things they told me I should follow, but I didn't. And to me, that basically indicated from the very early on, I just can't, even if I try to, if I'm being dictated to be something, it's the direction of my life. I have to be who I am.
You try to stay connected with what? With who?
Now I know. I know what I'm trying to stay connected to for basically my essence. But when I was younger, especially I misplaced. I left Iran. I didn't want to. I wanted to stay in my hometown. I couldn't anymore after revolution. So for years I was looking through ways of I knew my charity work, my work with Iran, my work with children. When earthquake of Iran happened, I just rushed to help. And every time something happened to a family member, I jump on a plane. For years, I thought this connection is about me and the country and the home I left. In the beginning of Sofreh 6 years ago, I thought I'm doing this to introduce my food and my culture to the environment. The more I got engaged, involved, it's really about what makes me truly sing, what makes me truly be in my element. And it's so much not about the country or the culture or even the food. It's about what makes me to just get up in the morning and just be excited about that day and doing what I like to do, which is happen to be cooking and happen to be Persian cooking, and I happen to be a woman from Iran.
Do you remember the way you've learned cooking in your family?
Yeah, I do have some really crystal clear memory of how happy I was. But how long ago it started, I do not. My mother was a very dedicated mother and a home cook, but she was also professional and she was a principal. So she always cooked before we were leaving. We were all living together, so she had to go to her school and we had to leave early in the morning. I always woke up as young as I was, first grade, second, third grade. Forever, I remember I woke up 6:30, 6 a.m. with the smell of food already being cooked in my house. I felt like I had to go and help her, but also I loved that. I loved waking up to this smell of frying onion or whatever she was planning to do. And then my mother always like, no, you don't have to do this. You're late. Go back. Like, oh, she was just like, but then I wanted to. It wasn't like I was trying to help her. I really enjoyed what she was doing. I want to know about it. But something that really resonated with me, the joyous time, is like I was looking forward for summer because this was the time my mother was home and she would start pickling and jamming, and with all the women in the neighborhood. It was just like a communal project. My mother had these guy with the vegetables coming, dropping off loads of stuff that we had to pick and we had to wash and we had to clean, and then the process. And there was a woman who would come, and I was always in the middle of everything. And just loving being with among this woman. I was the only kid. At times, I remember they would send me away because they wanted to talk personal stuff. And there was always this joke like, what are you doing? Why you're not on the street playing with other kids? But it was just always light. It was always a joke. And I was always in the middle of those activities. And nobody ever taught me, let's do this or that. But I was always there when there was cooking. And my eyes, my smell, my sense of taste. And not just my mother, my aunt, my neighbors, my cousins, everybody was a good cook. And they would all, as they were cooking, they would give me a spoon of something like, taste this. That's how it should be now. You see, that's how you toast the flour. If you add your syrup now, your flour is not right. So I was just always I was just being schooled from age 10, 11 up to I left home.
Food and cooking are so meaningful for you. Why didn't you start opening your restaurant early in your life?
It was not possible. It was not even foreseeable. I was in a different path. I had to be a good student and go to whatever a professional school, whether it be a doctor, engineer, lawyer, or something. And I was. And then revolution happened, and just my circumstances changed. And I came to this country. Although I had a light flair with what it feels to cook for people. And during the midst of revolution, in my college, students, activists, they attacked the cafeteria person and they threw him out and they shut down the cafeteria. And I heard the rumor that the student body was so upset about this event because they lost their cheap, poor quality, but cheap food. And in one of the student meeting, I got up, I was 20 or 21, I suggest, why don't we open the cafeteria? And I remember everybody turned like, what? Like, we're a bunch of lawyers, or wannabe lawyers. Open a restaurant? What do you mean? Not restaurant, just open the cafeteria. We can just, and everybody listened. And I suggested to make a bean soup and a simple chicken salad. And we did. A week later, we were in operation with a bunch of volunteers. And it was truly the happiest time of my life in that school. I hated law school, and I'm so glad it ended before I had to go through the whole law process and then realize that I was just either a lousy lawyer or a terrible judge. So, but then I came here, and cooking became really a true connection, because I came here with a lot of knowledge and knowing how to cook, but I didn't know exactly the dishes. I was too young. I was 18, I left home for college, and then I came here at 20-something. I realized that I need to know. Back then, there were few cookbooks, but I didn't trust them, and I was looking at the recipes, they seemed odd to me, but I needed, every time I asked my mother or my aunt something. And then, by coincidence, I worked for a Persian family, and they couldn't believe a young person would know this kind of food so deeply. And it was a little awkward for them because they would come, and I was not a typical helper they were used to. First of all, I was educated, and yet I'm cooking so happily in their kitchen. I'm even surprised. And they would come with their faces, the guests were surprised. They expected an older woman or someone, and they would come and see a kid standing But it became a connection. It really became a joyful. I was looking forward to these occasional events, not because of the money. It was just more of, I like the connection. I like the cooking part, and then people eating it and coming and look for me. Who is the one who did this? And also I was had a story to tell. Yeah, my mother or my aunt is making it this way. And it was just a sense of pride combined with sense of belonging in a city that I barely knew anybody. It was just incredible.
So in your restaurant in Sofreh, it's not only about food, it's about sharing, it's about conversations.
Absolutely. To me, Sofreh is an extension of my home. It just became a point of meeting point, a place of getting to know one another and sharing food that is delicious in an environment that is kind and generous. And looking back, my parents created that environment. Our home was always a center point of the family gathering, neighbors coming together. They also had the big house. They still live in the same ridiculously big house for the two of them. And we always had people. So maybe subconsciously, I was after that. But after a while, home wasn't enough. It was just too much to do the same group of people or same food. I just really had to share this with a larger group of people. I am not even really trying to make connection. I feel like by creating a place that people are comfortable and the setting is right, I think people are willing, and I think the connection just happens. One has to be just a medium, and I want to be that medium. We are all human and we are all connected. And energetically, at least, everything runs through my body, runs through yours. If the medium is right, no one can be bad or evil or wrong. It's just the environment creates those hostility, those differences, those sense of me against you. But if you create an environment that everybody is welcomed, then everybody feels at peace, and then everybody opens their heart. I really believe in that. Environment alone is not enough. You have to nourish. You have to nourish the eye, the body itself through food, and especially good quality food, and conversation. That's why I make an effort. I really go from table to table, and sometimes it's odd for people in New York who are not used to somebody stopping and say, "Hi, I'm your host tonight," and they're like, "What?" And then I have to explain. And it has been mostly very successful, and I'm learning to be more gentle or more careful or wait for the body language. But they are in my space, so in a way I feel kind of in an authority to kind of push my belief. But if I feel any kind of resistance, I pull back immediately, because after all, it's their time and I have to respect that. And I am becoming aware of it more and more. But at least I make the effort.
Talking about your cooking process, tell me about the tiny candle you light every day before cooking in the kitchen.
This candle is such a ritual that I like to keep it. Started with Sofreh being so challenging. I needed something to center me every day. But now that the challenges are smoother a little bit, I like to keep this tradition every day, because even when I'm out of Sofreh or I won't be involved for years to come, I love it so much now. Yeah, I light a small candle. I used to do it alone, but one day I noticed that some of my staff are looking, and I asked them if they like to join. So right now it's 4 of us, is me, 2 prep cooks, and 1 dishwasher first thing in the morning. I prepare myself on the way to come to Sofreh. Something is in my mind. Is either the new food or a conversation we had. There's always something in my mind. I'm always something cooking in my head, and then it becomes verbalized in my meditation. So I prepare myself. I sit down with a candle. I thank my staff for being here with me. Just a short reminder that we are serving people, and we should be mindful through our food, through our sanitation, through our work, that we are responsible for their well-being. And let's all pray or meditate to whatever we want. I don't know what goes through their head. I often sometimes don't even know what goes through my own head. But I start by thanking all my ancestors, all these incredible women in my family, for giving their knowledge to me so generously. Then I'll just thank the universe for putting me in a place that I can do what I love so much. And that's usually the end of meditation. We get to work. Yeah.
How would you describe the way you communicate with your team in the kitchen?
They see me. First of all, I'm the first person who's always there. Although the kitchen has been spotless clean, we wipe down everything before. That is the ritual that gets the day started. We wipe down again one more time. I start a pot of coffee, put a little bit of breakfast. I ask everyone to pause in between while the water is boiling or whatever. And I pretty much, with all of this, is intentional. I want to say, we are not just nourishing people, we nourish ourselves well first. We eat, we have a breakfast. We don't just get to work. They see me. I think the main important thing, I try to be, they say, to be the example you want to direct people. So I really try to be that element by just being me doing what I preach, and also ask them to be. And I think so far it's been amazing how quickly it has resolved. And I see that already. I love my team. I love the way they work.
As a chef, what inspires you the most?
As a chef, I don't know. Honestly, I don't see myself as chef. I'm just a dedicated cook. What inspiring the most to me is when I see my staff or any of the chefs, how present they are with what they do, and how much they are, at the same time that we are present in, let's say, whatever, butchering, fabricating fish, or cooking a sauce. It doesn't matter. Whatever, we are present and we have our full attention, but also how aware we are from our environment. I worked in some professional kitchen that everyone is doing something, and the task is so organized that people after a while become almost a robot. And for a very big, organized, professional kitchen is essential. That's how it gets things done. Tasks are created, people go and do their task. But the way I cook, I try to, it's like I put everything in one pot. I like to put people in one pot. I like to rotate the responsibilities. I like to do different things. I also want people to be mindful of what they're doing, but at the same time, have their eyes and ears open and feel each other. To me, that's even more important if they are like really focused on one task and they do it like as fast as possible. No matter what we do, sweeping the floor, being a high-level chef, being a mom, these are all just title. And if we do it with joy and care and mindfulness, that job, whatever that is going to reward us. And if we just do it automatically, we get burned down, we get destroyed by that repetitiveness of whatever that job is. So, yeah, for me, just being present with what you, and when I see that in the people I work with, I acknowledge it and I comment them and I thank them and I make them know that I see that and I value that.
There's a gratitude behind your cooking process.
I have always been a very grateful person and I always have acknowledged where I have come from and how lucky I have been. I am not a religious person, so there is no particular God I can thank for all that. But at the same time, the sense of knowing, just being in the moment and just be thankful of whatever we are doing and doing the best we can. I think this is the most I can ask myself and I can ask others.
Do you need silence in your life?
When I start cooking, I get quiet. And especially in the morning when I'm in the kitchen downstairs, mostly by myself with lots of pot going on at the same time, is the quietest time I can experience. It's beautiful. I don't know what the quiet time is. I am probably a little bit hyper. I have always been extremely physically hyper active. I have run many marathons. I always needed exercise. I still do. I still exercise every day despite the work in a restaurant. I need to push my body physically for my mind to get to a state of quiet. But lately, I noticed that when I have all these pots, not lately, I always notice when I start cooking, world around me and all the issues that they were in my head, they start disappearing. So that's my quiet time when I cook.
What do you expect from a conversation with another woman cooking like you?
I have not, to be honest with you, I have not had this chance to be with another female chef talking one-to-one. But I don't expect anything from any conversation because if you expect anything, even from Sofreh and feeding people and cooking, I really came to it with no expectation. Once there is an expectation, it's bound to be failure, or at least in my case. But I try to live in the moment. I do the best I can, even in the conversation. So it would be the same with another female chef. Probably we can talk about how they run their day and this and that, but does it really matter? I want to know about their heart and what they feel. And if that conversation leads us to there, beautiful. If not, it's just another mechanical. I can tell them about my day and they can tell them about their day and how we go about the process of cooking, which may be similar or different, but I'm more interested in the person inside than a chef or anybody. That's how I see every guest I meet in Sofreh. I don't ask them what they do. I just say, hi, I'm Nasim, and then we'll take it from there.
I'm gonna leave the space, hold the microphone, and add whatever you want to the interview.
I wasn't prepared for this stage of the interview. I wasn't actually even thinking that I would be asked to say what is it I want to say, but one thought came to my mind that perhaps is the most important thing is to acknowledge all the people who have helped me in so many ways to be here. I have so many people to thank. I'm without words in terms of how much gratitude I feel. But I guess one day I can just thank all of them from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Nasim Alikhani, for sharing your story. This is Sounds Like Portraits. a podcast by Philippe Ungar. Music, Charmeuse de Serpent, performed by Brooklyn Orchestra, composed and conducted by Olivier Glisson. See you soon for the next episode.